Welcome to the Flex Forward podcast, where grit meets growth. With your host, Nick Espanet, bringing you stories of resilience, reinvention, and the real climb to success.
All right, everyone, welcome to the Flex Forward podcast. Today, we are joined by Stephen Curry. Stephen is a founder of Endurance Advisory Partners and has a whole lot of things he does there. I'll let him give you a little more detail. But Stephen, welcome to the Flex Forward podcast. We're glad to have you. Can you let our listeners know a little more about you?
Sure. Thank you very much for inviting me. Yeah, I have lifetime career in banking. I started in banking really while I was in college, banking and accounting and finance. And then morphed from there into banking early in the what became the Texas banking crisis, and wound up with a career of a lot of merger and integration and acquisitions, and I've worked in pretty much all areas of banking, and built subsequently spent about 40 years at the institution that became, or 25 years, I should say, at the institution that became Bank of America.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Lived all over the country: Dallas, Charlotte, New York City, and Boston. And during that career, and then after the great liquidity crisis in 2009, I moved back to my hometown of Tulsa to be with my parents, and I launched a consulting business specializing in turnaround and restructuring of troubled banks, and that ultimately became a practice focused on strategy, M&A, operations, technology, and digital banking, and spent the last 14 years growing that business, and also serving during that tenure as CEO of a mortgage company that we made into a bank, Gateway, and then most recently as president of Beal Bank. While I was at Beal, I moved back to Texas, and now live in Keller with my family.
Awesome. What lots of great stuff going on there. So yeah, Keller, I'm on the west part of Fort Worth, so we're not too far apart from each other. So in that banking world and all of the different avenues you talked about, there's a lot of competition. What is something that set you apart as you've worked through all these different avenues that put you above the other, helped you achieve?
Well, I was willing to take more personal risk than most people were. As you could tell from my relocations, I was willing to move. And I typically lived kind of the cutting edge of whatever the bank was doing at the time while I was with B of A. And that enabled me to pick up a very broad range of skill sets. And after leaving the bank, that gave me a good set of tools to deploy to work with community and regional banks. And so that's, I brought with me about a dozen people that I've worked with closely at Bank of America. And so we've done a lot of, I believe, creative work with banks and mortgage companies since then.
Well, that's good. And that's something we've talked about with other guests and stuff on our podcast, is the getting out of your comfort zone, or being willing to do those jobs that maybe somebody else isn't willing. And it sounds like you are, or relocate. So you got to pick up a lot of skills that helped you further down the line. At the time might have not have been your most favorite thing to have to do, but willing to go that extra mile really sounds like it's paid off.
Yeah, it paid off greatly, and continues to. I continue to take opportunities that are a little harder, and as they say, everything in life is hard. You just have to choose your hard.
That's very true. Good stuff. So that kind of is a good lead into the next question. What's something that comes easy to you that others might find challenging?
Change. I I like this quote that I picked up over the years, which is change is the water that irrigates life. And
Nice.
that's something which really became a mantra for me. Uh, I just enjoy uh, changing things, and I also enjoy technology and working with people. So you put all of that together, um, and it can lead you some very interesting places.
Oh, for sure. That's awesome. I wrote that one down. I like that quote. Um, if someone's listening and wants to get better at doing something, either uh, personally or in business, do you have any suggestions for them?
Well, think outside the box. One of the things that I learned from Andy Beal was that there's a tremendous amount of opportunity where everyone else is not looking, and that's I think a challenge today because so many there's so much uh, going on in our economy, and there seems to be activity in every space. But once you dig into each space, you'll find segments where there are good opportunities. And the second part is don't be afraid to pivot. We're pivoting our consulting business to focus more on staffing now, given some of the deregulation activity in the banking sector. It's a good time to focus instead of consulting on interim staffing. And so that's, one example. And so looking for those opportunities, those pivots that you can make to lever your core capabilities, I think that's really important.
Oh, good stuff. What is one of the biggest challenges that you feel like you've overcome in your career path?
Well, I've had a series of challenges. I had cancer thrown at me my senior year in college, and that derailed my college plans. I wound up not completing my degree, but had enough accounting. I could get a good job in the accounting area of the bank here in Dallas when I relocated after college. Um, and there have been a number of others. You know, not every job ends happily, and you just have to spring back from those disappointments or challenges, and don't. As hard as it is to say this, you just can't. You got to be willing every day you get out of bed. You got to be focused on the good things that are going on around you, even if it's nothing more than the sunrise and and nature. Um, so I would say nature is another thing that plays a big role in my life and helps me with those transitions. Being outdoors, hiking, biking, fishing, hunting. I love those things, and that always provides a much needed reset or reprieve.
Yeah,
So
nature, Mother Nature. There's studies that show just getting out, even in a little garden in your backyard. It's better if you can get out and like hike, fish, hunt, where you're really out in nature. But just how much that just relaxes people is a positive for your health. Just even sitting in a little garden in the backyard, what it
that's
can do
right.
for you.
That's right.
So it's so important that that's just getting out. And sometimes when you're an entrepreneur and you're hustling, you get your nose down on the grindstone and forget to get up and do it. But carving that time out on a regular basis can really help you actually be more productive, I believe.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I
Well,
agree.
yeah, Steven, sounds like things are going well, and a lot of people when they start looking towards the future and how they see if they can create any passive income to either enhance or replace income. Have you had any thoughts on passive income?
Uh, Probably not enough thoughts on passive income. I could use some passive income. I spend most of my energy manufacturing income. Um, so that's so I'm an open book on that topic.
Very nice. Yeah, it's always good to listen, right? As we're wrapping up the interview, do you have any exciting plans or initiatives in the next 6 to 12 months?
Oh, we've got a variety of things going on. Certainly in the business, With the family, we only recently moved here to Keller. So we're, my son, I have a 12-year-old son and Keller Middle School. And we're just now getting the renovations on our home completed so we can turn our attention to meeting people and building our network here in North Texas. So a lot of good things both on the personal and professional front.
That's awesome. I wasn't quite to Keller. We were in Grapevine yesterday at a soccer game. I have 3 daughters, but we're at the 14-year-old soccer game in Grapevine yesterday. It's amazing how much that area is growing. So I've been grew up in this area. So I remember going to Keller in the 70s when there was probably a one stoplight town back then.
Yeah. When I drove through that area back in the 80s, I lived in Arlington from 86 to 92, and I would drive out to Grapevine to fish and rent a boat, and there wasn't anything out there. And now, the whole city has swallowed everything that I was familiar with back in the 80s and early 90s. You can find it, but you really have to look for it.
Yeah, built all around, which progress is good, but sometimes you miss some of those areas from earlier days.
So one other thing I'll mention on the professional side, we do a lot of advisory work for companies that are struggling with their credit or they've outgrown the bank that they're working with and they're looking for new opportunities. Typically we're most helpful with companies that need 10 million and up in financing, and so that's another niche that we've been building. And then we're also working with investors on creating new banks, and so those are all areas that if any of your listeners are doing anything in those spaces or need any advice or insights, we'd be happy to provide it.
Yeah, definitely. If you guys reach out, and if we want to get that, thank you so much for providing tips and insights for our listeners. If people want to reach out to learn more about what you guys are doing, what's the best way for them to get in touch?
So our website has all the tools you need to get in touch with us. It's enduranceadvisory.com, all one word.
Awesome. Well, Stephen, thank you so much. Change is the water that irrigates life. I made a note on that, so I'm going to keep that one and use it. I love it. And thank you for joining us today, everyone. Thank you for listening. Be sure to like and share the podcast. Share it with your friends, and so we can get more listeners. And thank you, Stephen. Really enjoyed getting to know you today.
Thank you. My pleasure. Take care.
Thanks for listening to the Flex Forward podcast. If you've got grit, growth, and a great story, visit flexforwardpodcast.com/guest to apply and join us on the show.